Ever gone to the back of a restaurant kitchen? Some of you may have. And you may have observed things like dirty surroundings, lots of plastic trash lying around, and slurry of wasted food entering the drains and whatnot. A site like this raises a lot of questions about the quality of food that is created there and the amount of waste that is generated. In fact, food wastage is a big socio-economic and environmental problem. Around 9 million people are reported to die of hunger every year. That includes 3 million children. Not to mention, wasted food means wasted resources like energy and water. And finally, this wasted food rots in landfills and releases a lot of greenhouse gas emissions. Now, what if I told you you can have organically grown healthy food and leave no waste behind? The concept is called Nude Food, and our today's guest wants to serve it to you in Mumbai. Namaste. Welcome to Positive Planet, a podcast focused on amplifying solutions and ideas that create a better world. My name is Vedant Vyas, and our today's guest is Siddhant Padte, the founder of Nude Food Cafe and Waste Matters Foundation. He is an environmentalist, a chef, and an entrepreneur, all rolled into one. With his Nude Food Cafe, he wants to usher into a new era with his one of a kind zero waste restaurant. Today, we understand from him the restaurant waste problem, the nuances of nude food as a solution, and his work with the Waste Matters Foundation. So, let's begin. Hello, Siddhant. Welcome to Positive Planet.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
There are a lot of things that I want to learn from you. This is an extremely new idea that I have come across. So, without much ado, I would like to begin. My
Yeah.
first question is when I researched about Nude Food Cafe, about whatever work you have been doing, that many of us, me as a consumer or other people also, know of food waste only as a problem from restaurant waste.
hmm
We don't know what happens behind the scenes of an average restaurant. All we see is each एक kitchen hai.
hmm
That's all.
hmm
So can you help me identify like which are those touch points where different wastes come into the picture for our listeners to understand the extent of the environmental impact?
Yeah. Sure. Definitely. So let me just start with introducing what nude food actually means. Okay, and why the nude food cafe actually the name came in the picture. So nude food literally means food which is natural, food which is unprocessed, and food which comes without any excessive packaging. So we always tell our consumers, when you are at nude food, you not only take care of your health, but you also take care of the planet. So food waste has never been, unfortunately, and concern for any of the restaurants globally. You know,
Yeah.
food waste has never been looked at as a problem. What why we felt that this needs to be addressed was because there's the if we are not today in a position to grow our own food. You know, do we really have the right to waste it? That is the question that we asked ourselves when we were actually trying to work on this kind of or trying to address this problem, rather, I would say. So the question was, no, we don't have any right. If we don't have the capability or the potential of growing the food, then why should we actually exploit it in that case? So that is where the nude food actually came in the picture, of how we could try to address the problem of food waste through the concept. Because just to let you know, in percentage, in India, more than 40% of the food which has been grown has been wasted, unfortunately. Through different, of course, the restaurants are one of the contributors, right from harvesting to transportation, warehousing facility, and then finally when it reaches to the retailers and to the consumers. During through this chain, there's more than 40% of the food has been wasted. Now, if I just talk about city of Mumbai, the wastage that ends up in the landfill comprises of 70% of food wastage, and plastic is just 8%. So that is the huge number. And unfortunately, because the waste is never been segregated at source, it even if the food is supposed to get decomposed and take care, the environment needs to take care of its on its own, because it is being dumped in the plastic bin bags. It cannot get decomposed on its own, and unfortunately there is a greenhouse gas emission that happens, and the landfill get filled up, and it directly impacts even the climate as well. If you are not able to take the responsibility of the byproduct of any of that are being part of your restaurant, you should not try to make them a part of it. uh, as I
Yeah.
said, the food wastage is one part. Second is about maybe skipping of single use plastic using at your restaurant, because if we are not in a position to deal with it, okay, so we always tell, if you could refuse to certain things, I think that will be the first step towards sustainability. you know uh, Going to the next level of reusing and recycling. If you can reduce the consumption of something that you cannot handle on your own, or you don't have have kind of an understanding that how this end of its life cycle going to be of the particular product that you're consuming, then I think you should simply refuse it. So yeah, so refusing of using a single use plastic is something that can be easily been done at the restaurant. That in fact we have been doing as well. Water resources again considered to be a very important factor, which most of the restaurant don't even consider, because as far as you're paying the taxes for water, they feel it is a birthright to have abundance of water being used. But unfortunately, there are a lot of rural areas in Maharashtra and in India as well, which who are still deprived from the access to the clean water. As I also come from a village where which doesn't have a very limited access to water, and that is where the realization came in, that how important the water resource is. So yes, I think controlling the resources that you have been using also is it becomes a very important part of a restaurant as well, at the back end level.
Okay, that was really insightful. Now, so if I have to summarize this, you mentioned that firstly the problem starts at the farm level itself, like 40% waste till the point of sale. I would say, maybe to summarize it in short, and
Yeah.
then you mentioned to refuse reuse is one thing. Many of things that restaurants accept that becomes a part of their waste itself, and you also mentioned resources. An example of which was water, which another thing would be probably energy as well.
Yeah.
So, in Nude Food Cafe, which I probably believe that you will be solving these three problems as a core area, further obviously bifurcated. So, what are your strategies to tackle these?
Yeah, so I would say more than strategies, the practices that we are doing now at the Nude Food Cafe is we when it comes to the control of wastage of food. What we do is, first thing that we did, we haven't put a dustbin in the kitchen at all. So our we have briefed our chefs that you are not allowed to waste food. Try to use everything from head to toe wherever possible. So that is where now their innovative minds application also come in picture, where because being in the industry for more than 12 years, what we have always seen, the best part of a vegetable is being picked up, and because it looks nice, it has been put on the plate,
Mm.
look beautiful,
Yeah.
and the rest is gone. But now what we have to realize, that the entire energy which has gone in growing that vegetable has got from head to toe. It's not only the best part of it. So why to just use
Yeah.
the best and let the rest go? So that is where we started off to try to control the production wastage.
Okay.
Second thing was the consumption waste that we do. So whenever we offer food to the customers, they are always we make sure that the food is being ordered in a way that they don't order any excess food. They can order as much as they could eat. That helps us to also reduce the consumption waste of it. uh, so
Yeah.
so what we are trying to do with the food waste is the production waste and the consumption wastage. These are the 2 points where majorly the food waste is being generated. Okay, and if you are cautious enough at both these points, definitely it helps you to reduce down the food wastage as well. you know at the end of the day, this food waste is been collected at one point. and it's been weighed before it is fed into our organic composter to be converted into compost. So what we do is we convert it into compost, and for past 3 years we have almost composted, say, around 8,500 kgs of leftover food into organic compost. I think that is a basic practice that we follow at the Nude Food Cafe. Yeah,
Okay, that's great to hear. One special insight that you gave was you also control the consumption waste.
yeah,
So, as I've seen a tendency in India, whenever we go to restaurants, even when I go, so we generally have a tendency to, man, we can order a little more. It's okay if sometimes it's leftover, and that's actually the wrong way of thinking about things many times. But how do you ensure this happens? Because consumers generally may not be aligned to this idea of ordering only how much they can eat. So is there some consumer feedback that you can share in this regard?
yeah. So definitely, as I said, it is the responsibility of both the restaurateur and the consumer as well. Because as a restaurateur, what operator, what we do is we make our customers aware, okay, that
Yeah.
maybe the portion size of this particular dish is such that it could be shared between two. If you enjoy it, so
Okay.
food is all about enjoying. So eating is not just to feed your stomach. Right, eating right is an art. That is what it is said.
Yeah.
So we always tell them, you order this food, you particular dish, have it shared, have it shared between your between two of you all. Enjoy it, and then maybe if you feel like having more, you will be able to enjoy it more better. If you order for two portions together and you're just having one of it, by the time you start having the second one, it is any which way is going to get cold and you will not be able to enjoy it. you know uh,
Yeah.
I think that is it. So that is how we actually make a. It also gives us an opportunity to educate the customers in that case. Because
Yeah. Of
most
course.
of the customers have the fear that there might be a lag between the next course of order that they place, so that they can
Yeah.
quickly just
Yeah.
have it and leave. Especially the customers
Yeah.
who have kids along with them. So that
Mm.
becomes our responsibility to where we ensure that the customers food is being delivered to them, and it has been rightly communicated to them when the order has been taken, that definitely this food will be served. Your next course, whenever you are half in midway of finishing your current dish that you are consuming, you can place for the second one, and by the time you finish it, your second food will be served, which will be hot as well, and you will be able to enjoy it. you know so yes, so we even have created this concept of zero waste hero at our cafe, to make people
Okay.
to keep people motivated. So whenever you have your food finished on your plate, what you could do is you could click picture and put it on Instagram, uh, motivate more people that whenever they visit the restaurant, because there is a trend that whenever you visit a fancy restaurant, you click the picture of that beautifully presented dish and tell people that, okay, I had been to this restaurant, this is so nice. A step ahead, what you need to do is, after finishing that dish, you click a picture of your empty plate and tell people that I was a zero waste hero at this cafe, because I finished the food, and you get reward for that as well. So you get a
Yeah.
discount. So they have something to talk about also.
Wow. That's a brilliant idea, I would say. And I seem to understand that to maintain these kind of things flowing and yet keep on generating more and more consumers and revenues for the restaurant, there must be a lot of challenges that you went through when you started setting up this restaurant. You said this has been 3 years or something of that sort. So can you run me through when you started, what is it now, what some major challenges that you have tackled?
So yeah, the first challenge that we had was with the name itself, to get this name registered. Because for
Yeah.
people, the nude food, they were looking at nude from a different perspective altogether. And they
Yeah,
still
of course.
do now. But
Yeah.
we felt this was a right fit for the concept that we have been working, and it is a right term that could be associated with the entire concept as well. So A, there might
Yeah.
be people who have the understanding about nude food. B, there might be people who might be intrigued to just explore why it is nude. So in both
Yeah.
ways, we get an opportunity to actually let them know what the concept is all about. So yeah, I think that was the first challenge. Second thing was to find the right character in the location, basically, for the restaurant. where we
Yeah.
wanted to have a space which could have a backyard where we could do our composting on site itself. So finding the right
Yeah.
location at the right budget that fits for any of the restaurant. But along beyond that, we wanted a back area space, which is very challenging to find in Mumbai, especially when the real estates are so expensive. To have an open area where the composting could be done. But yeah, in that
Yeah.
case, also we were lucky enough to have a heritage property in right in Prabhadevi, the other area. It's a heritage
Yeah.
bungalow, and a part of it was been given to us to convert it into a restaurant. And the landlord was kind enough to offer a space for the composting as well when we actually understood what we are trying to do, with the restaurant. So yeah, so this was a challenge. Then comes about the execution part of it actually. So when we have a concept part on paper, it is good. When you actually come to the execution, that becomes most challenging. So yeah, developing the
Yep.
supply chain, I think that was the biggest challenge that we had. um, as I said, reducing own consumption of single-use plastic. So developing the supply chain, who could the vendors who can understand what exactly our requirement is, and if wherever possible, I wouldn't say 100%, but wherever possible, they could supply us our perishable, non-perishable in non-single-use plastic. So making them understand why it is required, how it could be done. So that was a challenge that we had when it comes to developing a supply chain with the minimum use of plastic. Then of course, it's about the team, because more or less
Yeah.
when we did the hiring of the chefs and the service team, they have all been worked in a generic format where they had never had
Yeah.
a concern about what happens when the leftover is being put into that green bin bag. So what happens to it at the end of the day? They had never given it a thought. So for us, making them realize and understand was the biggest challenge, and which still exists whenever there is a refreshing of the entire team that happens,
Yeah.
which was there, and that we had, I think, anticipated very on the first day when we were actually going to have this team onboarded. We knew that this is going to be an alien for definitely for the people who will be a part of this team. But when now eventually after 3 years, what we know is we have made them realize their contribution also, what they have been indirectly doing for the betterment of their future, for betterment of the planet. So just being a part of Nude Food Cafe, they are indirectly contributing for the betterment of the
Yeah.
life of millions of people. I think that kind of feeling when they actually get motivated. Okay, I think yes, that is the difference that we are doing. So then they realize, chefs, why there's no dustbin, why we don't use a clean wrap. So in there is no restaurant globally anywhere. In our research, we never found anyone who is not using a clean wrap in the kitchen. So that is the first thing that we said, that this is something that we will definitely not do, because when we actually got associated with the recyclers who help us to help our single use plastic recycle, they said this is something that is very difficult to recycle because it is so thin, it cannot go for recycling. So we said, okay, we'll skip using that completely, and we have been doing it successfully. Initially we felt it will be very difficult because we ourselves were been consuming the clean wrap because it keeps the food fresh. uh,
Yeah.
but we felt we have to go away with it. I think that is the first step, and we did completely go away with the not using the clean film in the kitchen for preserving the food. So we started looking out for some alternatives for that, and yeah, it has been working well now. And now the chefs are even convinced, chalta hai, this also works, iske bina bhi chal sakta hai. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's a proof of concept for the team within and for consumers
Yeah.
outside. That's
Yeah.
actually brilliant.
Yes.
You talked of the Nude Food Cafe and the naming part of it, and I was very intrigued at this fact that nude food as a concept, where you're giving fresh organic food uh, and no waste at all. How big has this particular concept been in bringing in consumers to the restaurant? Because I read a few reviews, and as it tends to happen in reviews, people are first concerned about taste, then it comes price, and I think the waste and the other portions would come fourth or fifth in the line. So tell me something about it.
Yeah, definitely. So see, we are a food F&B outlet. Okay, we are a food and beverage
Yeah.
outlet, so our primary purpose will always be to serve good food and beverage to the customers along with a good service. That is definitely going to draw people to us again and again. It's not
Yeah.
because we are a zero waste cafe or we call ourselves to be a zero waste
Yeah.
cafe or a organic cafe. People will feel and come back to our restaurant. Okay. uh,
Yeah.
so yes, definitely, if people are talking good about the food, I think that gets them back to the Nude Food Cafe. Okay, if that is getting them back to Nude Food Cafe, that means they have an opportunity to contribute for the betterment of their health and the environment by just dining at Nude Food Cafe. Okay,
Yeah.
even if they don't dine at Nude Food Cafe, that is also fine. But if they have even visited us once, and if we have got an opportunity to communicate to them with regards to the concept, I think it's not that just one Nude Food Cafe will be able to change the world. You know, it is about
Yeah. Of
it
course.
is about having multiplication of more restaurants doing it and more consumers being aware about how they should dine when they
Yeah.
are going out for a dining. Okay, so
Yeah.
just for example, if they don't dine in at Nude Food Cafe, you give them a message about the zero waste hero or not wasting up the food. Maybe they go to some ex restaurant tomorrow. They make sure that they order very mindfully and they consume the
Yeah.
food only as much as they could eat because they have seen at Nude Food Cafe. I think that is good enough. So yes, if we have to, as I said, that is the primary purpose. And people might not directly resonate themselves with the zero waste concept immediately, but even if they are resonating
Yeah.
themselves, associating themselves with the food, I think that is for us, that would be a big achievement in itself. Because the best way to actually communicate to people, make them aware or sensitize them, I think what other it could be other than food, because that gives us an opportunity to talk to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Great. Yeah. So, all in all, what I see is Nude Food Cafe has become a system wherein someone else may not actually need to do beyond what one needs to, and yet the system will work itself to, in the betterment of health and in the betterment of planet itself.
yes.
And I think that itself is an amazing thing.
Yeah.
One thing you said right now, that one Nude Food Cafe may not be able to bring out the change that is required, and what you said till now, you mentioned a lot of things which may seem impossible, and yet you are proving that it is possible. And I personally don't believe that, at least for the big restaurant names, who come in slightly in the premium category, at least it would be difficult for them to adopt this approach. Any reason why at least such restaurants have not adopted the nude food approach, the zero waste approach?
I would say it's about the lack of understanding, lack of concern for this, as I said, and convenience. You know, uh, because revenue is always been put in the front seat when I said
Yeah.
for any business. I think that is important. Definitely, you will not be able to sustain
No
if
doubt.
if your business is not profitable. But at the same time, also you need to understand at the cost of what. If that question has been associated with them, if I'm trying to make profit at cost of what, then I think they should be able to get the right answers. So as I said, the concern, food wastage has never been a concern for majority of the restaurants. uh, you know
Yeah.
because it's like you have a dustbin. I think that has been kept. Your leftover goes in the dustbin, and there's a BMC truck which comes and does a magic and takes away all your waste, and tomorrow you don't see it. So I think it's out of sight and it goes out of the mind as well.
But then, if I am to say, like, there are many movements currently happening. So you might have heard about the food farmer
Mhm.
who reads labels and he questions on how you
Yes.
are actually marketing this as a healthy product or
Yeah.
something of that sort. Who should be taking the lead in this chain of consumer, the restaurateur and supplier vendor, and then the farm? Who can bring about the change that is required all across to reduce food wastage, to reduce plastic wastage?
So I think that's the big responsibility that at every level that needs to be taken by everyone, because farmer has a responsibility to grow food. He does that, okay, at one level. But after that, what happens? It needs to be handled rightly. It needs to be warehoused rightly. So if we want to start controlling from there itself, right now we lack, unfortunately, with the warehousing facilities that we could be made available majorly in the different parts of the country, where the food can be stored properly and then being transported to the different parts in the country or being exported. I think that could be one of the points where the food waste can be reduced. Okay. Coming down to your transportation, and to definitely to your the consumer, the part of it. If each and every consumer starts looking at food waste as not just a food, as not just as a commodity, but as a source, I think then definitely there is going to be an impact that we will be able to bring to reduce the food waste. Surprisingly, the restaurants actually do not generate the maximum amount of food waste. It's been proven by the research, which says that the majority of the food waste is being generated at the household level. you know on an average,
Okay.
yeah, on an average there is almost around 250 to 300 grams per person per day, food waste that is being generated in a family of three. That is a research that is being done, and which says that. So it's a very surprising figure. So wastage at household level is much higher when it comes to food, and then at the retail, because the restaurants will always try to reduce the waste by in a way where they could reduce the cost, because we have a margin of not exceeding 30% of the food cost. So there will be always the
Okay.
operation guys will be sitting on the neck of the chefs to make sure that they don't exceed that margin of 30%. So what is happening? The wastage is going beyond the sales. Then there's something, it will always be questioned. So it has always been relative to the from the revenue perspective. But that is fine, even if it is
Yeah.
related from a revenue perspective. If they're trying to reduce the food waste, that is fair enough. So that should not be an issue, but it
Yeah.
doesn't happen at the household level. For us, it is, we always want to have fresh at home,
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
and cook some more, so that it can be stored for next maybe or 2 or 3 days, or maybe we have some friends or families coming
Yeah.
in. Surprisingly, that's why we cook
Yeah.
extra for them, and if it is not been consumed, eventually it is being thrown away. So yes, I think that is what is happening.
Okay. Really insightful. I want to shift focus a bit towards the NGO that you began and you're
Yeah.
working on. It's called the Waste Matters Foundation. In brief, can you tell about what does Waste Matters Foundation intend to do? What is the scope you have, and what are you currently working on?
Yeah, so Waste Matters Foundation was formed in 2018. As the name itself says, waste matters. That means waste is a concern, and I think it matters us, and I think it should matters others as well. So it was
Hmm.
formed in 2018, as my journey of sustainability started, as I mentioned, from Elephant Island.
Hmm.
That is where my first restaurant was established back in 2011, which I made single use
Yeah.
plastic free, which I mentioned earlier. And that is where the entire journey started off. And to make the cleanups on the island more regulated, or to make sure that uh, the waste has to be controlled at the source point rather than just doing the beach cleanups, because beach cleanups
Yeah.
was not going to be a long term solution any which
Yeah.
ways.
Of
It
course.
is more of a community building activity and about spreading awareness and getting the like minded people, and it cannot be looked at beyond that.
Hmm.
So that with that intention itself, the Waste Matters Foundation was established, with a tag of SSC, what we call it. So sensitization, segregation, and collection. I think if these three
Yeah.
things are being taken care of, definitely majority of the waste problem we will be able to curtail them. If people are sensitized, they will definitely look on reducing the consumption of, say, now if you're talking about plastic waste, the consumption will definitely be reduced. If they are segregating, I think that becomes easier for recycling as well. you know and recycling is only possible only if the collection, if people are segregating it and collecting,
Yeah.
so that is how it has been interlinked to each other. So yes, I think that is what the whole aim of Waste Matters Foundation is, to aim to actually reduce the marine litter, and we are specifically working towards reducing the marine litter itself, because we associate ourselves very closely with the oceans, and we understand they being the major contributors for bringing a balance of the entire ecosystem, which have always been
Yeah.
neglected. In fact, what we are today, what we see is the extreme temperatures is also because it starts from the oceans itself.
Yeah.
And have to make people realize there's life below water as well, that uh, we need to value, you know and it,
Mm.
it should not be just looked as a dumping ground. And yes, I think that is what we have been doing with the Waste Matters. We have the project which is going on right now in Elephanta as well, where the entire island is been now, for an entire year, is been we have taken up a project to develop a waste management facility on the island, and which to make a complete inclusive kind of an effort, where all the stakeholders will be made part of this project, to make sure that the waste management facility is a complete success, where people, because what happens is the people visiting the Elephant Island, it's not only the image that they make when they reach the island. If they see filth around, it's not only the image that they have about that place, but they have the image about the entire nation, especially the foreign tourists who visit the caves, or the island rather, I would say. So that is the change we would like to bring. If we are able to successfully make one island, which is so important, and being a world heritage, if we are able to bring that change in, and set an example for this, where it was inclusively made by the stakeholders, where they understood the value of it, and they themselves started contributing to make this one of the best tourist destinations in India. I think that is a model that would be replicated to the other places as well.
Okay. So I would say another proof of concept in works by Siddhant Padte, I would say. Uh, but there is one question that always lingers in my mind every time I look at uh, an NGO, or even a group exercise towards beach cleanup or waste collection. What So since you are working on an elephant island geography as of now, what was absent, which was supposed to be a civic body responsibility, which necessitated a Waste Matters Foundation to come into the picture?
So when it comes to civic body, unfortunately, there is, because it comes under Gram Panchayat, there is no as such any civic body who will be held responsible when it comes to the areas which has been dominant by the tourist. Okay,
Okay.
it majorly comes under the various different government bodies. Say it's Maritime Board, or the Archaeological Survey of India, Forest Department. That is how the
Yeah.
if I just specifically talk about Elephant Island, that is how it has been divided. So that was a major challenge that I could see on the island, when because there was no civic body where it could be approached. Okay, this is the problem. What are you doing? Because
Hmm.
that area might not come under their jurisdiction also, which needs to be
Yeah.
taken care of. And unfortunately, because of its geological positioning of that island, it is such a way that 50% of the waste on the island it comes because of the high tide, from the waste that is being dumped from all over the city. It gets accumulated
Okay.
on the island, because it is being covered right from all the sides, from Mumbai
Hmm.
to Navi Mumbai. So whatever
Yeah.
dumping happens into the oceans, it gets accumulated on all the parts of the shore of the island. So that actually that belongs to nobody. So I think someone has to take the charge of it in that way, who understands that this is a concern and needs to be addressed. And that is where we actually had to jump in, and we felt that it's it's important that who is doing it rather than what we can do. I think if it is come to our doorstep, it becomes our responsibility now, that we have to pick it up and deal with it.
Okay, that was again insightful. My last question for you today, which I generally keep a little fun type. Uh, so both the things that you're working on, may it be the Nude Food Cafe, the Nude Food as a concept, and Waste Matters Foundation, where marine litter and waste generation, waste recollection, segregation, they both require a considerable amount of awareness to be spread across. And I would hope that innovation also is needed for tackling this problem in a more efficient way. Now, let's say I somehow am able to give you unfiltered access to 500 young minds. I'll ensure that there are 500 young, brilliant minds. What message would you like to give to them, and about the change that needs to be done, and how will you nudge them towards taking an action?
Okay. If you talk specifically about the environmental impact part of it, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think if I really have to look at it from that perspective, so I would say all the young minds who are look now working on the innovation part of it, I think it is very important for them to look at not just from the innovative perspective, but also the impact that innovation is going to have on the society and on the planet as well. So that evaluation has to be done before the application is being done in masses, you know. So they might be working in a direction which they feel, okay, this might give convenience to people, okay, but at the cost of what also needs to be taken into consideration. Where today people, we all have are in an era where everything is very accessible, you know. But unfortunately, that is making us more lethargic in a way as well, you know.
Yeah.
Just simple could be the mobile that we are holding now in our hand has not, we can't even remember the four mobile numbers of our near and dear ones whom we could dial without having a mobile phone in our hand. We cannot memorize it, you
Yeah.
know. So I won't say mobile phone is not good, the technology was not good, but to what extent, I think that needs to be used. That is a question that the consumer needs to ask themselves, and then get themselves associated with that. So in a similar way, I think whatever the young minds are going to do, in whatever sector they would be in, I think it will be very important. The impact of their innovation, their technology that is going to bring is, I think that positive impact would be very important, and the after effect of it also needs to be evaluated before it is being put for test, to the consumers also, you know. So yeah, I think that's it.
Siddharth,
What I would say.
Siddharth, uh, this has been absolutely amazing. I really want to continue our conversation. I think there's a lot more that you can share. Probably we can save it for another episode.
Sure.
But thanks a lot for joining. Thank
Thank
you
you.
for giving your time,
Thank you.
and hope to talk to you soon.
Definitely, it was. Thank you for having me. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Hey, thanks for listening to the episode. Please let me know your feedback and do share it with someone who might like it and is hopefully inspired by it. Positive Planet is dedicated to amplifying ideas and solutions that create a better world. So, if you know of any such idea that I should cover, please let me know in the comments or ping me on Instagram. The links are in the description. Most importantly, if we want to make this planet a positive one, we must stay together. So please be a part of the Positive Planet community and subscribe to this podcast. Thanks. See you soon.